Seibs, very good weekend for you and your brother. You've both got wins.
Yeah, mate, it was good. It's been rare that I've been able to cheer multiple teams home on the weekend, so that was exciting.
We'll start with the one that people would care most about, and that's Manly. Manly just smashed them.
Yeah, it was very impressive, wasn't it? The physicality was, well, it was there for everyone to see.
That was it was interesting the way they responded against Penrith. They got absolutely annihilated against Penrith, let's be honest. And there's no shame in losing to Penrith, but it was certainly a response that was needed.
Oh, for sure. I think if we think of that game against Penrith, to be honest, mate, I reckon Penrith would have put 20 or 30 on every single team in the comp that night. They were red hot. Now, Manly weren't very good, but they showed a little bit of resilience at the back end of that game, which I'm sure Anthony took out of it and thought, okay, they've shown a little bit here. I reckon we can get a good response out of them. And whatever he did at training that week was spot on, because they flew out of the blocks, and the physicality was it was the most impressive, I think, of all the teams all year.
It was almost Origin-esque, and the moment, of course, everyone's talking about is the Olam hit, and it's very rare Justin Olam gets hit like that, and by
Can you ever remember that?
Never. And as a Storm fan, I'll just look at the Storm for a second. I was actually really happy that they put Munster as a fullback and Pezzett into the halves. I would have rather that option than putting someone else in the fullback.
I get that.
So I just thought Manly were just emotionally on a high for that game for whatever reason. Maybe it was a Melbourne Manly thing. Your brother spoke about it in the post match that they did talk about the history between Manly and Melbourne that week, and I just think that Manly would have beaten nearly every team in the comp that night.
Well, that's the second time Manly have done that now. So round one against Canterbury.
Yep.
When and you want a team to be consistent, and I know that he would want them to be, more consistent. I think he speaks about it constantly. He wants the gap between their worst game and their best game to close, which is obvious. But the game against Canterbury, they physically bashed Canterbury round one.
Yep.
And then they've done it again, to Melbourne. They've shown glimpses of it in a couple of the other games. For about 20 minutes against Para, they did it. But I'm sure for Anthony, Manly supporters and opposition teams, now all of a sudden, if Manly progress the way we think they will, and they should make the 8.
Yes. You
wouldn't really want to play them in a knockout game, because you know that, hang on, that Manly can turn up, and if they turn up, they're physically going to smash us.
That version of Manly, the true physicality version of Manly, is that sustainable for a full season? Because we've seen it not be so far.
No, it's not. It's not. And again, maybe he's picking his mark as to when to get them up like that, because you can't do that every week.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the intensity you can have every week, but that physicality, I'm just not sure if you can redline every single week like that. But again, who knows?
I think they can push for top 4, Manly. If health is the thing, but I think that Schuster has only played 1 or 2 games there. I think he provides so much, and we've seen now with him out of the team that they are a little bit clunky without him in the team.
Yeah.
And I actually thought going into the season for Manly that Cooper Johns might be their best option for this year.
Yeah.
This year, I'm not saying long term. I'm just saying to get through this year. But it really is Schuster.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's Schuster, and again, that game against Penrith, I'm sure Anthony will look back on it and probably got it wrong playing KO Weeks for the first half.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered. The result was not going to be any different. But at least with Cooper Johns, you know what you're going to get out of him. He's a solid 6 out of 10. He's never really much worse. He's never much better.
Not going to lose your game.
No, he does the occasional bit of brilliance, I suppose. But he's a consistent player, and I'd like to compare him to another young half when we get to them later on, which is the Roosters. But for different reasons, he's the same type of player as Sam Walker for me.
We will touch on Sam Walker a little bit later, but the Knights' draw all of a sudden doesn't look that terrible.
No, the Knights are probably the Knights and the Cowboys have flipped for me.
Yes.
Because this is what we expected the Knights to be last year.
Yeah.
I think everyone would have agreed that the Knights were going to be a decent team, a fringe top 8 team again, and they were going to beat some good teams. They might lose the odd game, but they're fundamentally a good team. And we thought the Cowboys would be rubbish. Well, now all of a sudden the Cowboys are rubbish,
yes.
Whereas they were great last year, and the Knights are actually quite a good footy side.
You touched on him there. Sam Walker dropped for now for the Roosters. I'd be surprised if he's back anytime soon. I really would be. I think Manu's played 4 games of his career in 5'8", and he's brained them every time. I think that now is the time you really start to judge the Roosters for what they can be.
Well, we're going into round 8, aren't we?
Yeah.
So is it Robinson saying, righto, Walker, you need a kick in the arse, you're going back to Reggie's and, sort yourself out, come back and let's go again? Or is it's round 8, if we don't make this change now and stick with it, it's going to be too late in the season. We can't do it round 18.
Yeah, that's right.
So at least it gives them an opportunity to be clunky for a month while Manu gets a feel for 5'8 again. And then all of a sudden, I've said it before, all of a sudden now I think they can win the comp if they stick with this side.
Trent Robinson would know as well. He's going to lose 5 or 6 players to Origin over the next 10 weeks.
Right.
And who knows, injuries, suspensions out of Origin, you'll always get 1 or 2 out of them. So
who makes Origin from there? I mean, Teddy, obviously.
Teddy. You'd think Lindsay Collins will be there for Queensland. I think Suoli'i will probably make the Blues team.
I don't know. I don't know if he's their best option.
I don't either. I don't think he's their best option.
Do you think he'll make it based on media and beat-ups?
I think Freddie loves him. I think Freddie loves him.
He could do. But what would you be, as a Queensland supporter, be more worried about? Suoli'i on the wing, or, say, Latrell or Turbo going out to the wing and Campbell Graham playing in the centres?
If Addo-Carr's healthy, which it looks like he will be, I would go Addo-Carr.
Oh, yeah, but I'm ruling him out. I'm saying he's not going to be back.
Well, To'o's a certainty.
Yeah, that's right.
So, if you look at other options, Tom on the wing and Campbell Graham and Latrell at centre is probably the way I'd go.
Yeah, so would I, yeah.
But I just think Freddie loves him. I think that there's an infatuation with Joseph Suoli'i. He was the 18th man last year.
But he was playing good last year.
Yeah, I know. But I tell you what, maybe they play good now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Anything can happen now.
Yeah, so Suoli'i's a chance.
But a definite.
But
Teddy's a definite.
Yes.
Is Lindsay Collins a definite?
I would say so.
He's probable, but
yeah. Well, they've got a lot of probables. I'll say that then.
Because Crichton's no chance.
You don't think so?
Well, he's only just playing his first game back, and who knows how much time he'll get. There's too many other options.
Fair enough. I wouldn't say no chance though. A month of good footy.
Okay, I'm more looking at game 1.
Okay. So if Suoli'i's not there, then Tupou's a good chance. So one of them you would think would be there.
Yeah.
Who else?
But again, there are a lot of maybes.
Yes, that's right. So maybe they don't lose that many.
Yeah.
But either way, they might fire now.
They could do. And again, I've said it previous weeks, I don't want to sit here and bag people and, it's not what this podcast is about. It's about us having a chat about footy and giving our opinion. And my opinion is that Sam Walker is not a very good NRL player.
Yeah. He is still very young. I'm not writing him off.
Of course he is, but how's he different to Cooper Johns? In attack?
Yeah. He doesn't have any elite traits yet, I would say. And it's probably a thing with the Roosters that they lack. For example, their kicking game's been talked about a lot.
Yeah.
They don't have a dominant kicker in that sense. Brandon Smith never kicks. James Tedesco never kicks.
Right. Yeah, he can't tackle.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll tell you what, when the Storm played the Roosters a couple of weeks ago, they lined up all their attack through Sam Walker.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if Nelson Asofa-Solomona was playing, he would have been playing back row.
Yeah.
Because he would have been lining up on Sam Walker all game. So it's been and Keary is a much better player, but defensively he's not that much better.
No, he's not. He's not.
So,
but he's a much more composed,
That's right.
consistent player.
And he's got runs on the board.
Yeah.
And so to have two defensive liabilities is not going to help you long term. So I think Manu's going to brain him.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. And are we having some big takes? Are we going to throw some ridiculous lines out there, Tom? What do you reckon?
Yeah, you can throw it out there.
Okay, Sam Walker will be playing in the English Super League within 3 years.
He's still got a long time left on his Roosters deal.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
There'll be some shuffling of the cards.
That's within 3 years he's in the Super League.
That could be. And you know what? We'll probably kill it over there.
Of course he would. He'll be man of steel.
Yeah, it's a no defense league.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's move on to Jack Whiten, retiring from rep footy. I've heard this argument a few times that you'd never see a Queenslander retire at 30 from Origin, right?
Rubbish.
But I would throw that on its head as well.
Yeah.
You'd never see a Queenslander who's been a staple of the team for a while and has performed at Origin level like Jack has, get man of the match in game 1, miss out on game 2 due to COVID, and then be dropped for Sif Talagai in game 3. You would never see that happen, would you?
No, probably not. But I don't buy into the Queenslanders look after people better argument, because we've for want of a better word, shit on blokes in the past. And we do it, and the narrative, it suits, and the narrative's driven when we're winning.
Yes.
But when we're not winning, no one talks about it. So I get it. Like, he's sneaky old White, and he's 31, isn't he?
30, I think.
30,
he is,
yeah. So, and he has been probably playing at an elite level since 18. So I get it. I'm not critical of him. He's won Origin series. He's won World Cups. He's played plenty of Test footy.
If he doesn't stay at the Raiders, and I don't think he will, where does he go? What situation suits him the best to win a comp? Now, I know like Penrith, obviously, but realistic possibilities.
So he needs to go to a team where he's complementary to what they've already got. Okay, so if he's going to he might as well stay at Canberra if he's going to go and play 5'8" somewhere, because he's not going to be a 5'8" unless he's with Cleary in a premiership winning team.
Yes.
So I think he goes somewhere where he fits in at centre, maybe fullback, but I reckon centre. And it's someone like, one of those teams that are sitting 3rd to 6th. It's a Parramatta, it's a Souths, one of those types of teams that just are missing something.
I think he's too old to go back to fullback.
Yeah, I agree.
South is interesting. But I don't think South's problem is their outside backs. I think it's I think it's a forward problem.
Yeah, that's right. Whereas again, I concentrate on Para because they're my favourite team.
Yep.
The one piece that Para probably needs to get is an elite centre or another elite winger.
Yes.
They need one or the other.
Yep.
Their forward pack's fine.
Yes.
Wherever you could put Parramatta's forward pack and South's backline together, it'd be ideal. But obviously that's not how things work, and he needs to choose what he wants to do. I'm sure he's made plenty of money at Canberra.
Oh, of course. And he would have had all the marketing deals in the world.
Could you see him lobbing it somewhere like Dolphins? I saw that getting thrown around.
Well, the thing is, if it's clearly a money thing, how much more are the Dolphins going to offer than what Canberra did?
Yeah. Third party, I suppose.
Well, there you go. We talked about the Roosters, but Cronulla beat them over the weekend. That was the best performance by Cronulla all year.
Yep, it was.
Coming off a bye, their defence has been rubbish. Spoke to Hannah a couple of weeks ago, and they actually, the bye probably was the best thing for them coming off that Warriors game, where they blew a 20-0 lead, which is just unfathomable, really, in the NRL. It happens probably 3 times a year.
Yeah.
So, particularly for a team that good, like you would expect the Warriors to blow the 20-point lead, not the Sharks. So, a lot of talk about Nicho Hynes playing for New South Wales. Does he play, and where would you play him?
On the bench. Look, why break up Luai, Cleary, Zio?
I'm not the world's biggest Luai fan, but there's been a lot of talk to throw him away very quickly.
Yeah, but by who? Like by who? Anyone whose opinion where you sit back and go, well, this person knows what they're talking about. I respect their opinion when it comes to footy. It's blokes who like throwing out clickbait and it's trolls on social media. That's where a lot of that comes from.
Yeah.
If Jerome Luai was born north of the border, he would be Queensland's favourite ever player.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true. Nico,
but Nico, he's almost your perfect 14, isn't he?
He is. He can cover anywhere from
Lock
1 to 7, 9, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's he, and you know what? If all things go well, he will just be thrown on in the middle.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Come the end of the half or something. That's exactly how he'll be used. I wrote a column over the weekend about the Cowboys, that they're already gone for the rest of the year. I've never cheered on the Warriors so hard in my life. They did get the job done. But I tell you what, if you went and just looked at the stats of that game, Cowboys had all the ball in Warriors' end. Warriors defended their ass off. I think they had 55 tackles inside 20, the Cowboys had. And Warriors, that was their best performance of the year.
So, Cowboys, what's going on? Like, I look at them and think, and this is only the smallest thing, but for mine it's just ludicrous. What are they thinking, naming Jake Granville at prop?
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
So, I'm a massive Jake supporter. He's probably been their most consistent player for the last couple of years. I think he was their players player the last 2 years in a row. So I'm not saying that he shouldn't be in the starting 13, but why not at least? Who cares where he plays? But it's all about what's visual, and visually you're looking at it and you see Jake Granville's named at prop. The second one of Warriors prop scored a try or made X amount of meters, it's on Jake Granville because he's playing prop. Well, that's on Todd Payton. At least name Taumalolo at prop. He's 110 kilos.
Yes, it strikes me of a coach that's actually run out of ideas.
Yeah, quite possibly.
And
it's so small. It's such a little thing, and I don't think one person's been critical of it. And people are smashing Anthony Griffin about having that interchange issue at the start of the game because they got the team list wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I know 100% that has got nothing to do with the coach. That's the football manager that's stuffed up there.
Yeah.
So that's who should be getting smashed. Like, I hope Anthony Griffin gave him a spray, whoever it is, because that's just attention to detail.
Yeah.
That's almost like they're trying to set him up.
Yes. And the Cowboys have a lot of questions to answer. Now Taumalolo's out for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and in a weird way, it might be a relief because Taumalolo, there looked like there was something off there. Like his post-contact meters were nowhere near what it had been. So that might be a relief.
Could be. Could have been carrying it for a little bit.
Absolutely. And they've let go of the hammer. They've let go of Tom Gilbert, who is just a machine for the Dolphins. He really is. He is. I've got no doubt that if you put him back into the Cowboys, they're a much better team straight away.
They are. But again, how much did he get offered? How much could they afford to keep him?
Oh, of course.
There's always little things. I don't think Ruben Cotter's the player he was last year.
No, he's not.
He seems to be... His size, how light he is and how he plays, for whatever reason, is just not working this year, is it?
No. And let's just look at the spine for a second. Is it possible that 4 guys have just had career years in 1 year?
Well, I think Drinkwater, yeah. I'm Tom Dearden's 20 Origin, player. Like, I think he's shown enough that he's actually been one of their shining lights still. He almost looks like the only bloke who's a chance of laying any points on.
Yep.
Then the rest of the spine, well, you look at Drinkwater is and always was known as a rocks and diamonds. He lays 4 tries on, and then the next week it's 2 intercepts and a cutout pass that lands in row 3.
Yep.
So that's just, it is what it is with him. And Townsend's probably not doing that much different to last year. It's just they haven't got they're not on the front foot. The forwards aren't laying a platform because all that Townsend did last year was kick him to the corners. Had really good 5th tackle options, whether it was in good ball or coming off their own line, as I said, kicking it to a corner, and he allowed the other boys to play footy, and it's just not happening.
Reece Robson was on the cusp of State of Origin selection last year. He was talked about as potentially replacing Damien Cook, who was out of form at the time.
How?
It's...
I'm not saying he's not good. He is good,
okay,
but he's not.
So Todd Payton's got a 3-year extension. Can they turn this around with his current spine?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay, well...
So now this is the 3rd year.
Yeah.
And 2 of the years have been identical.
Yeah.
So which was the
anomaly? The fluke?
Yeah, which was the fluke.
And that's what I wrote in the article. As soon, if you think of 22 as a fluke, this all makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
This looks very much 2021 Cowboys. So if you're the Cowboys recruitment manager, what position are you going after the strongest?
I really think that they need a couple of middles. They need not, James Tamau, who's
done
48.
Yes.
They need a couple of middles who can lighten the load for Taumalolo, who can get them back on the front foot and allow them to, get some go forward. So they've got some space and the ability to play footy again. Valentine Holmes isn't getting any clean ball at the moment. It felt probably one-dimensional now. So, his carries are really good, gets him out of trouble, but he's not. He seems to have lost a little bit of his speed. He's lost a little bit of his leap, so he's not that threat in, on the last tackle down on the opposition's line where they can cross-field kick to him, and you think, it's a dead set 50-50.
Their depth is very concerning as well, and it's the fact of who they're bringing in to replace guys that are out at the moment that they're just providing nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's always great for a coach, I would imagine, if someone's got one elite trait. You can bring one elite trait to the team, whether it be, speed. Speed is an elite trait, right? You can't coach that. So, but these guys that are coming in, they're just providing nothing. Like they are your average players.
That is so true, and I've heard a number of professional coaches talk about that. You need to be elite at something, whether it's elite speed, elite footy IQ, elite defensively, or elite with your skill set. So you need to be elite at one of those, otherwise it just becomes too tough.
Exactly, and then if you have 2 of those, then you're into superstar category.
Yeah, exactly right.
We'll move on to Newcastle and Penrith. You knew Penrith was going to win this game, even with 2 minutes to go and Knights were up.
So unfortunately, I didn't watch this one live. I watched the replay.
Yes.
I was at footy myself, and keeping an eye on the scores, like you said, even when it got to 13-12, I was just waiting for someone to sing out, "Oh yeah, Penrith got home."
Yeah.
I didn't know how it was going to be. I didn't expect it to be a Cleary double field goal again. But yeah, he's so good. It's
The Knights are sitting 11th at the moment, and they're 3-3-1.
Yeah.
I know that they're in an 11th, but if you're a Knights fan, you are so happy at the moment with how they're playing.
It's a bit funny, isn't it, with how the buys early in the year, it's a false ladder.
Yeah, it is. I'm not a fan of the 2 points for a buy. And you know what actually swayed me the most was the fact that Tigers are now on 2 points. They don't deserve 2 points.
But either way, even if you don't get 2 points for it, it's a false ladder.
Oh yes, because
people have had a buy and they haven't had the opportunity. So I don't know what the solution is. Whether everyone gets their 2 points at round one. Because you look at it and think, well, Manly's 3-2-1.
3-2-1, yep.
And what did you say? Newcastle are 3-3-1.
3-3-1.
One of them's in 3rd or 4th?
Fourth.
Yeah, the other one's in 11th.
Yes.
It just doesn't correlate, does it?
No, it doesn't. And just going back to Newcastle for a second, the fact that they've been able to do all this great work without Ponga, I love Kalen Ponga. I think he's a superstar. Whether or not that's a 5'8" or fullback, that's another discussion. I actually do think at club football he is a 5'8".
I don't know if he's a superstar. I know what you're saying. He's box office.
Yeah, he is. He's their most important player.
Yeah.
The fact, though, that they lost Jaden Brayley for the year is so crippling.
I got a question for you. I can remember 2 Origins where I would say Kalen Ponga's been excellent. One of them, he was unbelievable. Another one, I remember him having a good game.
Yep.
Can you think of... So he's probably 150 NRL games in now? Would he be that?
No, he plays his 100th game this
100th,
weekend.
okay.
Yep.
So he's 100 NRL games in. Can you ever think of one club footy game where you can recall Kalen Ponga going off? Apart from his second game for the Cowboys.
I was going to mention the Cowboys game. Look, if we're going to be very specific, yes, I can. There was one game against Cronulla.
Yeah.
It was when Josh Hannay took over as full-time coach at Cronulla when John Morris got sacked.
Yep.
And it was Josh's first game taking over at the club. And I remember he brained them at the end. Yeah. So to answer the question, yes, I can, but
you see
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
For a bloke who's on millions of dollars and meant to be a marquee player, and we all know how talented he is, you can see it. There's glimpses of it.
Yeah.
I struggle to find, in my memory, and I'm a footy nerd, too many games where you've gone, wow, he just absolutely tore a team to shreds for 80 minutes.
I will counter with this, though. He brained them in Origin 3 last year.
Yeah.
One man of the match.
Yep.
He's probably played 4 games since then.
Yeah, but he's played 96 before that.
Yeah. Oh, and I know what you mean.
So that's all I'm saying.
I know what you mean. Don't you think, though, that playing Origin, being successful at Origin, makes you a better player in the long run?
Yeah, but he's done it once.
Yeah, I get that.
And all I'm thinking is, because the comparisons are going to come thick and fast with Reece Walsh and him.
Yes.
Reece Walsh is more, I think, the Billy Slater. He should be compared to Billy Slater more than Kalen Ponga because they're different players. Reece Walsh is all energy. Kalen Ponga's big play, big moment type of player.
Yep.
But I can already think of, and again, it's probably memory bias, recency bias. I can think of 3 games just this year that Reece Walsh has just absolutely brained them.
Yeah, that's a fair call.
But all things being said, when the Origin team's picked, I hope Ponga's number 1.
Yes.
Because he's done it there before.
If he makes it through the next month, he will be. Yeah. Like after what he did last year, you can't go back on that. So, look, I just hope he gets through for starters, because if he cops another head knock, then we're talking serious conversations.
Yeah, he probably nearly retires, doesn't he?
Broncos and the Titans. Broncos won 43-26. That's not good for the Broncos.
Weird game.
This is the game that is cemented in my mind the most. The Broncos will not make top 4. I'm pretty confident about that.
It wasn't getting beaten by the Raiders, who are hopeless.
See, I think that there's a good team in the Raiders somewhere.
Yeah.
They'll slip into the 8 at the end of the year, and
it wasn't even just the Raiders. It was the Raiders without Whiten, without Kotrick, without Tarpany.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. But look, that was the game for me. The Broncos, they weren't very good at all, and that to me was the moment where I thought they're not going to make top 4. If you put them under any sort of physical pressure, they crumble. And the fact that they were able to pull that out in the game is, I think, a very big sign of who they were playing.
Yeah, and again, that's 2 times now where a sin bin's really
changed the game
with the Bronx. I think, this week's really since round 1, this week's the first time that they're playing a team where you actually would sit back and say, okay, well, they're playing a good team this week.
Absolutely. And so they've got Parramatta this week. God, if there was one week where Brad Arthur needs to sit his forwards down and goes, let's just bash them, it's this week. And because I know that Payne Haas is outstanding. I know that Pat Carrigan's outstanding. But for some reason, when they get that internal pressure that they can't get out of their own 30, for consecutive sets.
That's when the errors come.
And just on the Broncos, is Selwyn Cobbo a certainty for Origin?
No.
I don't think so.
Hell no.
How could he be? He is not playing anywhere near as good as he did last year.
Who are your wingers?
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
To be
Xavier
fair,
Coates is
Xavier Coates will be there.
Dane Gagai probably.
Dane
Another one.
Gagai will be at centre. I
I hope Dane Gagai's not at centre.
you
I
don't
hope
think
he's on the wing. Yeah.
I wouldn't be against that. But then again, who do you put at centre? So you got Holmes will be there.
Yep.
One name to look out for, Isaiah Tass from the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, it might be a bit.
But we've just got no one, Steve. We've got no one. So
I'm just trying to think, actually.
like it's.
So,
Do you go Corey Oates?
no.
Well,
No.
mate. Seriously, we've got no one.
Someone did throw up a suggestion the other day. It'll come to me before the end. And I thought, that's a really good idea. I didn't even think of that.
For an outside back?
Yeah. It'll come to me.
So they've got Parramatta this week, South, Manly, Melbourne. This is the month where we find out the gumption of
Yeah,
Broncos.
definitely. South's...
Then Penrith after that.
So Souths have a bit of injury concern in their pack.
Yeah, they do.
So that might not be as dangerous for Brisbane as what the other teams are.
I still think, though, defensively, Souths are very good.
Yeah, they don't concede rubbish tries.
That's right.
Yeah.
And a big reason for that is Campbell Graham. He is so good. He makes up for a lot of errors when they happen.
Yeah, no, he is excellent. The hammer. Why wouldn't you play the hammer on the wing?
The hammer,
Or in the centres.
The hammer at centre's an interesting one because
Or
he
even
has
the wing,
he has
yeah.
played centre
Yeah.
at Origin before.
Yeah.
Marked up against Turbo. It was game 3 2020 when we were never meant to win. We had Edric Lee and Branko Lee on one side, and we won somehow.
Yeah. Cameron Munster won.
Yes, exactly. But the great thing about the hammer is even if Tom makes a break,
Yeah.
which you assume he will at some point, Hammer can just chase him down.
Yeah, no, he was the one. Like,
Yes.
he's got to be in there somewhere.
Do you move Gagai back to the wing then?
I would, because Hammer's a better defender.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. So the Broncos, Parramatta, South, Manly, Melbourne, Penrith, Warriors, Cronulla.
Well, they're playing proper teams now.
They are.
And good luck to them. They've got themselves off to a flyer. I know you said you don't think they'll make the 4. I just worry. I was about to say I just worry. I don't want to get bagged too much by anyone, but as someone who does not want the Broncos to make the top 4, I worry they've won enough games already.
Yeah, right.
You know, to cruise home at 50% and just scrape in. In saying that, it is a long season.
Yeah, absolutely. And would it be out of the question for them to lose the next 4 in a row?
Well, it wouldn't shock you, would it?
No, not at all. And then the questions start coming back to you. You know, they're 5-4, 5-5. You know, then the pressure starts to mount again.
Yeah, that because I did look at that the other day because all of a sudden, this game this weekend between Parramatta and Brisbane is really, really important for both clubs.
Absolutely.
Because it's a real tipping point. So if Para lose, Para are scrapping all year just to make the 8. If Brizzy win, Brisbane will make the 4.
You would think so.
If Brisbane lose and Parramatta win, well, all of a sudden, Para's 3 from 3 going into another 2 or 3 relatively easy games. They can go on a run. Brisbane are about to hit that tough patch that you just spoke about. And when we stop at round 12 for a bit of a chat and look where the ladder's at, both teams could be 6 and 6.
Close.
I'm making things up here, but
Of course.
you see what I'm talking about is it's a real crossroads for both clubs this weekend.
I know Parramatta got the win this week, but are you concerned?
Not with this game, not with the Canterbury game, not at all. The Tigers game, I was a little bit worried until I did look at some of the key stats and possession, field position. Tigers should have beat Para by 10. The amount of possession they had, I think it was 59% possession they had in that game. Para on the weekend was a dead set queue in the rack game. We got to go to Darwin next weekend. Basically the whole forward pack was off the field with 15 to go. I wasn't worried.
Do the Warriors make the 8?
Who do we drop out? Who, out of all the teams we've been talking about?
So out of the 8 right now,
Yep.
is the Roosters, the Eels, And in the 8 is the Warriors and the Dolphins.
Well, the Dolphins do not make the 8.
No, they don't.
Parramatta make the 8. Roosters make the 8. So that, for me, if I've got to take one team that's dropping out, it's the Warriors.
What if the Broncos miss the 8 from this position?
It's not too dissimilar to where they were last year. I think there might have been weren't they 6 from 8 last year? Something like that. They were off to a flyer anyway.
They're only 4 points from 1 to 8.
Yeah.
So I know that they've gotten off to a great start. In some games, they've looked fantastic.
So the big challenge that they're going to have this year that they haven't really had a great deal of last year and the year before is Reece Walsh potentially plays Origin. Katoni Staggs, I wouldn't pick him, but he potentially plays some Origin.
Cobbo might.
Cobbo might. Carrigan plays.
Haas.
Capel plays. Haas plays. Flegler plays. That's 5 blokes, and we haven't even thought too hard about it.
Yeah. And you would...
if Cleary goes down, does Reynolds play or Moses? They're probably not Reynolds anymore. I don't think they'd go there.
No, but Reynolds' health is something to monitor because if he goes down, obviously they're in trouble.
Yeah. And every team is like this. If they lose a key player, they struggle to win games. But I think Broncos rely so much on Reynolds, Haas, and Carrigan that if any one of those 3 go down, then then things get tough. But again, they've done such a good job to this point. What are they, 6 wins?
6 wins, 1 loss. You can only beat who's in front of you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So they're off to a flyer.
But if they miss the 8 from here, all hell will break loose in Brisbane.
They can't. But again, they couldn't last year, could they?
They're in the top 4 with a month to go.
I suppose all it takes, and the same thing that happened to Para at the start of the year, all it takes is a month of not winning games and everything can flip on its head quickly.
Yeah. And they've got the schedule now that Parramatta had at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And if we're saying Parramatta's a better team, which I think they are.
Well, there's some good odds floating around this weekend. I know Para's the outsider.
To me, that's strange.
I know the Knights are the outsiders against the Cowboys.
Yep, to me, that's strange.
It's in Townsville. Look at the form line of the 2 clubs,
Ponga back.
Yeah.
South Sydney Penrith is interesting. Penrith will win.
Penrith wins.
Storm Warriors is an interesting game. Storm get back Nelson. They get back Meaney.
They lose Tui.
Lose Tui. Yep. Idiot.
But just getting Meaney back, Free and Munster back up to 5'8", it'll make a difference.
Who's your Dally M? Quarter of the way through the year.
It's a little bit different, isn't it? With the format and the double points essentially.
Yes. Who's your best player?
Well, Nathan Cleary's the best player.
Yep.
So he's my Daily M.
Yeah. If Munster didn't miss those couple of weeks there, I think he'd been in this discussion as well. But I think Harry is leading at the moment, and I think that's probably right. Harry's having a really good year. But Cleary's the best player. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It's strange. I think Melbourne, there's 4 players that are ever going to poll points.
Yes.
So it's either going to go to Harry, Hughes, Munster, and that's probably it, isn't it? Really?
Maybe Nelson.
Maybe, yeah.
Yep.
So Penrith, well, there's 8 blokes that can poll points each week, and it wouldn't shock you.
That's right.
So they strip points off each other, which I think is, it's always been the way, and it's just something that, it is what it is. But I think Cleary's the best player, and I just can't believe every now and again I still encounter people who try to tell me that Nathan Cleary is overrated, he's talked up by the media, and he's not that good, and he's never done anything. He's won 2 Origin Series, 2 grand finals, made another grand final, multiple minor premierships, keeps turning up, do you ever come across people who try and have that conversation with you?
Oh, yeah, but you don't take any notice
of course. But then it makes you think about them and What are some of the other things in their life that they talk about? It's like, seriously.
The equivalent to me is the Origin team predictions that are starting to filter out now.
Did you see the I think it was the staff writer
Yes.
who wrote.
He's a great one.
Yeah, staff writer wrote. Nico Hines plays himself into the number 7 jersey. Did you ever see that one?
Yes, I did. The one I sort of instantly disqualify is whenever there's a Queensland team with no Christian Welch.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you're not interesting me at all.
Yeah.